What's up, everyone, and welcome to another Rust electrical tutorial. I'm Nicish, and today we're doing another industrial crafting video, this time version 1 of what I'm calling the Soldier Circuit, a fully automated weapon replacement system. Now, the idea here is that you have a locker or a small box or a large box, whatever, some kind of container, and inside that container we have an AK, in this case, in the example anyway, an AK and a stack of ammunition for that AK. And so these are the the rooms for your soldiers, and say they're defending the base, they log in or they bag in and they take their stuff, and as soon as they take it, it's going to auto-populate and auto-refill this with another AK and another stack of ammo. And that's what I mean by fully automated weapon replacement. Now, this is part of a larger circuit, but because there's going to be updates coming out here for the Industrial Crafter soon, I thought I'd release part of this as version 1, because this in itself might be useful to, say, smaller groups who aren't trying to do such a large build. All right, so we'll just go ahead and demonstrate how this works. I've got materials in here for the AK and the 5.56 ammo. The top conveyor is what pulls in the materials for the AK. This top crafter, or industrial crafter, crafts the AKs. The bottom, the yellow line here, this bottom one does the 5.56 stuff, the stuff for the 5.56, and then this industrial crafter makes the ammo, and then it all comes together here to a collection box, which is then, that defines how much I want here, which I'll talk about, and then it gets parceled out to these 3 lockers or 3 boxes, whatever it is you're using, for your players. And so the way it works, so we'll see how much backup ammo is in here, 20. So if I were to pull out, say I have this first locker, let's say I pulled out 25 ammo, pretend it was a whole stack, but we'll pull off top 25 ammo and an AK. What's going to happen is the system's going to take 25 ammo from this box and an AK from this box, and it's going to transfer it back in there for the players should they bag back in immediately. The AK that was staged in here was then moved into this box. We have the 3 AK backup again, and what was left of the ammo was sent in. So what the system is doing now is it's repopulating the ammo in increments of 60 seconds, which I'll talk about, and recrafting another AK for to be here staged in the industrial crafter. So if, say, let's say 2 players had bagged in and taken 2 of these AKs, it would have transferred 1 AK, built another AK and transferred it, and then built another third AK to have in the pipe. So basically there's 4 backups with this system that don't require any crafting, so that there's a buffer between players dying and ammo and a weapon being available to them. So so right here we've got the 60 seconds, it's almost up. It's going to basically fill until it gets the 3 stacks in here. Once it gets the 3 stacks, which it is got right there, it's going to shut off, and whatever's left will just remain in here ready for the next transfer. So that's pretty much it. It's just an automated replacement. Obviously this can be expanded into much more complicated things for more stuff, but we're going to start with just this today. So over here I've got a power bank setup. Again, I always do this. I'll leave a link for this if you're curious why it is I use this. And then we're going to go ahead and get started here. So I'm going to start with just a tour of what so we'll start with the industrial tour, and so I've got 4 in the main circuit. We're not going to talk about this one to the end. So in the main circuit, which is basically everything from products to the left here, I've got 4 industrial conveyors. The top conveyor here is what's got the setup for the recipe to build an AK. So 50 high qual, 200 wood, 1 rifle body, and 4 springs. That's set up in the max, because what I want that to do is populate this industrial crafter with what I need for 1 AK. And so that's running from this industrial splitter, from our products box. So I've got all the stuff in the products box to build everything. This is the AK versus the 5.56 down here at the bottom. And so this one takes out the stuff for the AK, transfers it into the industrial conveyor. The out of that industrial conveyor goes to this conveyor here. Industrial crafter, excuse me, goes to this conveyor here, which just takes the rifles out once crafted, and it has a max target, the target container of 3, because that's the buffer amount I've chosen. You can choose however much backup you want. If you want to have 2 immediate AKs available at any times, per player, or hopefully for whoever's dying the most, you could say have 6 in here, and so then there'll be there'll be 6 backups that'll immediately transfer and don't have to be crafted first. So it depends on how much buffer you want available to your, who I'm calling your soldiers. This bottom, or the yellow line here, this is for the 5.56, so same idea. I've got the recipe for the 5.56. Now I put it at 20 and 10 versus 10 and 5 because I noticed that there's some variance in the rate at which ammunition is crafted. And so there were a couple of times when this got dangerously close where it delayed because it ran out of materials for just a split second. So I doubled that just so that there's always that sort of buffer in there. So that was just a personal choice. You don't have to do that, but it did help keep my system a little more predictable. So that's to the industrial in here. The industrial out is running to this conveyor here, and the same thing as the top. This is just pulling out the 5.56 ammo. I have it set to 768. So that is the equivalent of 6 stacks of ammo. Again, ammo takes a lot longer to craft than rifles do. So you might consider doing this or even more, however much ammo you want in reserve for immediate transfer. The system will automatically create more to keep this where it is, but it does take time for ammunition to craft, so keep that in mind. As far as the other components, obviously we have an industrial splitter here so that I can bring everything from this box into each of these conveyors with their filters set up like I showed you. And at the end, this is going into a combiner because I want all the products into this one staging box, which, you might have noticed. I mean, could I just go straight from here, straight into this and into those? Yes, you can, but then you wouldn't have this like sort of backup buffer supply so that when someone dies and spawns in and takes something, they don't have to wait for this to craft anything. So the idea is that this thing kind of has so depending on how many players you have pulling from this will depend on how much you want to set these to. Maybe you want 6 AKs in backup, so you change this max to 6. Maybe you want 12 stacks of 5.56 or whatever ammo you're crafting, so you would double that. So that's all that's doing there. That's pretty much it. Of course, the boxes have an adapter on them. Pretty simple. That's just about it as far as the components. And then as far as switches go, you're just going to need 3 branches, at least the way that I did it, and a couple of timers. That's it. So let's go ahead and get started with the electrical build here. That's, the industrial part is really not that complicated. You can see it just from here. It's a pretty straightforward system. The electrical system is actually also pretty straightforward. So we will just do that first. So starting with power, I think that's the best place to start. Over here, this branch with the purple line coming out is the power to the main circuit. This light blue one is for this piece here. So for the main stuff over there to the left of products, it's this one here, and it's a total of 13 volts, which is really not horrible for this. And I've got 3 branches over here. This third branch could be a splitter, but there's no real difference except for the size. That's why I sometimes will tend to use a branch, just because they're smaller and easier to fit into places. So we have this main purple line here coming in with 13 volts to our first branch. The other 2 branches are daisy chained. So we've got, let me just pull out my tool here. There we go. The output, the power out of this first branch is running to the power into the second branch. But unlike things I often do, if you've seen my other videos, in this case, I purposely did the branch out daisy chain to this next one. So the second branch is branch out to the power into the third branch, and this power out is actually going to something. I did that because I only needed 1 volt there, and I needed 2 here, so that's how I was able to manipulate this. So just be aware of that. But this first one here, this first branch is for the main power line, which is going to be the conveyors 1, 2, 3, 4, and then actually this industrial crafter, just because it was just easier just to run that way. So all I did there was I have 5. I set that to 5 volts because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items, each requiring one. So it's all I'm doing here is at power on the power input side. From the branch out here, I'm running to the power input on this first one. Its pass through is running to the power input on this one. Its pass through is running to the power input on this one. Its pass through is the input of this one. Its output pass through on this final one is running and terminating at the power in of the conveyor. And you'll notice we have 1 volt arriving here. That's exactly what we want. So that's powering all of those 5 items. This from here, I did this daisy chain, like I said, coming out to the second branch. And what I did was I used the power out of this one. This purple line runs up to the power in of this conveyor up here, just because it was a convenient way to get that 6th item in there without using a bunch of big splitters. And so I'm running. So from that 13 that I ran, 1 is being used, 5 are going out here. We have 7 left. It's running into here. I sent 5 out of here, so that means 1 will come out of the power out, which is what I wanted for that top industrial crafter up there. And then the branch out of this, which is set to 5, is running out of here into the power in of this 3rd and final branch over here. And that way I get 2 and 2. Again, you could use a splitter here, but there's no functional difference. It's just a size and space thing. So each of those 2 are running to one of each of these timers to power them. It doesn't matter which one you send to what timer. They're just powering those 2 timers. That's the orange lines, because you need one to power the timer and 1 to pass through, so 2 and 2. That's pretty much it. So you should have 5, 5, and 2, and that will set you up with the right, assuming you sent 13 from that primary branch over there by the battery. And that pretty much runs that's the power. The outputs of the timers, this output of this, I tried to color code them as best I could. This is the yellow side. So the output of this timer here is running to the toggle of this bottom industrial crafter. And its time is set to 60, which will, again, I'll kind of recover here and I'll cover again here in a minute. The top timer, its output is running to the toggle on of the top industrial crafter, which is for the AK, and its time is set to 5 seconds, because that's the minimum duration you need to get a build going. So I only needed to run just long enough to start the craft, because they will finish their craft even if they are off once it's started. And then so just finishing up the timers here, the inputs in the timer, the toggle on of this timer and the toggle on of the timer down here, are both coming from the filter fails. So I've got a filter fail here off this top conveyor, which is the one for the AK. That filter fail is running to the toggle on of that timer up there. Same thing down here, the filter fail of this conveyor here is running to the toggle on of this conveyor down, or this timer down here. And so, you can try, and this is what I had attempted to do at first, was to run the filter fail directly into the toggle on. But the problem is, especially with the ammos, that they bounce between filter pass and filter fail as they're creating stuff. And so since I want the product side to determine when this stops, I want to be able to just load this up and not worry about it. I wanted to use this side. I wanted to use the product side conveyors. So that's why we're running these to a timer, so that we can not deal with the fact that they toggle back and forth when these things are passing and not passing products. So again, filter fail to the toggle on. The filter pass we don't use, and the filter pass we don't use. We don't use either of the turn on, turn offs on any of them. So in the forward ones, we don't use the filter fail or the filter pass. So these ones are just using power in, power outs, and that's it. And so that is pretty much that. Let's see. And then we have on the back here, we've already talked about the power in, we've talked about the toggle on, and that's pretty much it. Actually, the wiring is not that complicated. You just have to, just send some volts in the right directions, and you're all set. So once you have this set up, the idea here with the timers is that, again, I talked about how that one does just the 5 seconds, so that it will start a craft and then turn this thing off. This one I have set to 60 seconds, again, because the 5.56 ammo just doesn't craft in any. It varies a little bit. There's some average, but what I realized was if I just set it to 60 seconds, it's just going to craft ammo for 60 seconds, and then once it overwhelms whatever the target, in this case the target is 768, then once I get my 6 stacks in there, it's not gonna, the timer will just keep recirculating every 60 seconds. It'll check, it'll craft for 60 seconds. Is there at least 6 stacks? No. It'll craft for 60 seconds. Have we reached at least 6 stacks? Yes. Then it'll turn off and leave whatever's left in here primed for the next time. So that was easier than trying to exactly time this. So you can, what I'm trying to get at here is that you can use this to, you can use this to, like, determine how long you want it to craft for. So if you want more ammo in the pipe here, I guess, you could be like, hey, every time you cycle, just go ahead and craft for 2 or 3 minutes if you want. It'll make just a lot more that will be sitting in here ready until it has to repopulate this. So this is kind of something you can play with. This will always be 5. The time it takes to craft a rifle is so long that it doesn't matter. You can just leave this at 5. So that's about it. So as long as you have the components in here, as long as you have the filters set to the right, here I have them set to the right amounts based on the recipe for an AK. Same thing for 5.56, but double it so that in case this thing gets behind a little bit, you don't run out of materials in here. And then once it comes out, it ends up in here, and this is what determines how much backup you have. So this box could be think of as the sort of the buffer box, in that this is how much is immediately ready should someone take something out of these lockers. So you can also just think of it as right here. So if I were to turn this off, if I were to just take an AK out of here, this thing's gonna take this AK out of here, which is then gonna start this timer, which is then gonna start a craft as soon as there it goes, filter fail. So now it's starting a craft. So it'll be 5 seconds, then right as it catches, it turns off. And now we're crafting an AK. This one has now repopulated this back with the necessary materials for the next time it's needed. And it just keeps doing that. And so this is now has the third one because it took the one that was in the pipe. Now we're crafting a new one for the pipe, and the same thing for the ammo. These are 2 separate systems, which is something I kind of wanted because I didn't want it tied to, if you take an AK, you also make a bunch of ammo. I wanted it tied to exactly what's taken. So if I were to take, how much we got in here? We've got 28, so I got to take more than 28. Let's say I'll just take 30 out of here. If I take 30 out of here, it's going to transfer that 28, but it doesn't have the 2, so it's still looking. It's going to filter fail because it's not there, which is going to activate this timer, and this is going to run for 60 seconds. And so we're just going to craft ammo for 1 minute, and it's going to, as it's crafting, transfer whatever's needed in here, which will be, not much because I already took it. So we're already there. It already transferred what it needs. And so it's only going to run for the 60 seconds, and after that 60 seconds, it's going to stop. So right now it's just going to build up in the pipe because it's not going to transfer anymore because I already have my 6 stacks in here. And so again, this is how you can set how much backup you want when you take things out of here. But the idea is that the idea here is just for the player, for the soldier. If you've got people that are designated to guard your base, people who are defending, this is how they can bag in and they can just take something. So if I wanted, I'll do this again. I'll say, let's say, how much is it going to leave in there? We've almost got that. Got like a few more seconds. So you can see how this timer, I experimented with this and I had like 15 seconds and 12 seconds and 14 seconds, and a minute just seemed like a good amount of extra ammo to make. And you'll see that, yeah, we've got what, 28 that it made, 31 that it made in the end. So I've got 31 in here. So if I were to, 31, yeah, if I were to come over here to the second one, and remember, let's see here, we got to turn this one back on. This one, and just as a refresher here, this box is, of course, the buffer, like I said. Now, this is what distributes this into the containers out here. And remember that you don't set the distribution here to 3 and 128 times 3. When you set this to 1 and 128, it's going to put that many in everything it's connected to up to a limit, which I think is 15 or 16. And so, you don't have to multiply based on how many boxes you have. If you have 3, in this case, lockers set up, it's going to put 1 and 128 in each one of them. So just as a reminder. So if I were to come in here and take out enough to start this thing, we've got 31, so I'll take out 32. And let's say I died, I came in, I'm going to pretend that I took out this whole stack. You don't need to wait for that. And I take this out, it's going to automatically repopulate the stack. It's going to automatically repopulate the gun for the next time they bag in. And now this is going to kick on and refill the backup that you've got going here. So you can see how this could be expanded. This could be turned into something much more complicated. But this alone, you can set whatever blueprints you want. So if you build this, you can just put the materials and the blueprints you want in here, any gun, any ammo, and just let it go. And so whatever you end up taking, it'll just recraft for you. And that, folks, is just about all I've got. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. Otherwise, you can get me on my Discord. See you later.